Hey everybody, Health Coach Erin here. Hope you're having a great day. Today, during our time together, I thought I'd talk about proper footwear for exercise. Seems like kind of a simple concept. So I'm basically stepping outside or taking my kind of health coach hat off, but in advocating for holistic and overall health, since we encourage exercise as part of that holistic health, I thought we would talk about another way just to protect our bodies. So I'll just share from my personal experience with you is mostly where this is coming from. And because true to form for me, when I started this out, I knew nothing about, first of all, I knew nothing about exercise in general when I started exercising as a young person. I also knew nothing about footwear. And so due to those factors and possibly some genetics, I'm not sure, I've had some foot problems, knee problems, hip pain. And so I bet you can tell that because our feet are our foundation, when you're having issues there, those issues can work their way up our bodies and make for some pretty uncomfortable situations. So that's one of the reasons why proper footwear is so important. So one of the things that I never thought about when I started walking and running was that our feet need different support and different people have different types of foot structure and gait, and we have different types of steps. There's different types of footwear to support those different types of steps. So especially for walking and running, I'm much more familiar with those types of shoes and the differences that are there because those are exercises that I do frequently and I've just kind of learned along the way. But there are all different types of shoes for all different types of activities. We've heard of tennis shoes, and of course there are cleats for different types of sports. And so folks who do specific sports may be very familiar with the different types of footwear that are meant to support the body in those types of activities, and that's wonderful. Typically coaches or instructors who teach different types of classes, athletics, or forms may know a lot about that footwear, and so they could be a great source of information. For me, I was pleasantly surprised to find great support at a local run and walk shop. And so those folks tend to know a lot about the feet and a lot about all the different brands of shoes, what types of shoes those companies make, and can really help you find the proper fit is very important. I used to wear my shoes too small of a size, and so what seems odd at first is I may wear one size shoe in a sandal or a dress shoe versus my running shoes are up to 2 sizes larger than my sandals. And there's lots of reasons for that. And one of them is when our feet hit the ground as we're running on concrete, that force tends to spread the toes and flatten the foot out. And so it makes a lot of sense when you think about it that way. And we don't want our feet constricted in any way because that can cause some problems, and it certainly did for me. Also, making sure that you're wearing the right type of shoe for the right activity. I was running in cross trainers, which is probably okay if you're not running long distances or maybe just a warm-up jog or something like that. But for me, long term, it started causing a lot of issues. And so I have my foot pain and other issues, pain up the knees and the hips and things like that, was much reduced when I finally found the right type of shoes and had the proper support to support my body. So I would suggest, if you don't know where to start, go to a local run and walk shop because those folks can really help you figure that out. Another way to possibly find resources for the proper footwear is doing a little bit of research online yourself. I'm not advocating for any one brand versus another, but have a couple of brands that tend to fit me consistently well. So just for instance, Brooks.com, Brooks Running, they have like a foot fitter, and they have you perform this series of kind of tests on yourself to help you determine like what your footfall might be and where you might need support. And so running shoes, for instance, some folks have a natural footfall or a neutral footfall, which means they don't pronate, their heels don't turn one way or the other at all. And so they just need cushioning. Some folks like more cushioning, some folks like less cushioning. With the less cushioning, they call that, I think the terminology now is kind of for something to be more responsive, and that just basically means, you know, you can feel the road under your feet a little bit more. Some people prefer that. I prefer a little more cushioning. I think that probably comes from having that pain in the past and wanting the extra support for myself, and that feels more comfortable for me. Some folks have lower arches or pronate inward, and so their feet tend to roll slightly inward. Folks who have that problem, and I fall into that category, have arches, but they tend to flatten out when I hit that pavement. And so I usually wear what's called a stability shoe, and it has a little more support in that arch area, so that the foot and ankle doesn't roll in. And then there are folks who may really overpronate, and there's an additional type of support shoe that's basically motion control. And so those tend to be a little bit stiffer. They have a little bit more support in that arch. Some go with a medial post. There's all different ways that they support that inner foot, but motion control is kind of the top level that doesn't allow that foot to pronate. So I've just kind of learned all of this through experience and kind of by default trying to work through my own issues. But I think what I want to iterate most is that, especially if you're jumping into exercise and if you're feeling any discomfort in your feet, maybe even your knees, a lot of times it can be an issue with your shoe. And another thing that I'll say is, I don't think it's necessary. I'm not encouraging anybody to run out there and buy the most expensive shoe that they can find, because that's often not necessary. But I will say it's well worth it to invest in decent gear, because that's another way that we can protect our body as we're beginning to exercise, and certainly as we maintain those routines. There's nothing like trying to work through and recover from injury. It's not fun, and it hurts often. So I'm trying to kind of just throw some things out there, some easy things, right? Picking the right shoes. It's a preventative measure for injury, certainly. And so it's just one thing I wanted to throw out there. But if you want to know more, or maybe look for some local resources, I'm here to help. I love talking about this stuff. So reach out. Thanks for being with me today, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.